One of the most important skills we can have in life is understanding people. We are surrounded by people and we deal with people every day. But many of us are really bad at this, and that's why they lose their jobs or face serious problems in life just because of bad people skills. We will go over 18 laws that will take your people skills to the next level. Trust me, they can change your life. Here are the laws of human nature by Robert Greene. Law 1. The law of irrationality. You have probably experienced a situation before where someone overreacted and you suffered the consequences. Or maybe you were overreacting. This happens because you just cannot think rationally all the time. Sometimes we are dominated by emotions and end up making bad decisions instead of logic decisions. The reason for this is that we want to avoid pain and fear painful experiences. Even when we know what the right thing to do is, we often won't do it if it's painful. Instead, we make up excuses. That's why many people will never admit that they are wrong or change their minds, because being wrong and changing are painful things. But sometimes we need to self-sabotage ourselves by noticing what's triggering our emotions so that we can act logically, not instinctively. The best tip to become more rational is to accept that you are irrational. A person who thinks they are always rational believes they are right all the time, so they will simply react and end up being led by their own failed interpretation of their emotions, of events, and of other people. Another great tip to become more rational is to examine your reactions by analyzing your behavior. That is the best way to slowly build up your knowledge about yourself, and this will help your rational side take control when you face similar situations you have already experienced before. It also helps to increase your reaction time, because as soon as we feel calmer after an argument, we often come up with the perfect solution. So sometimes it helps to remove yourself from the situation and give yourself some time to calm down and step back into your rational self. And always remember, our true personality shows up when we are under pressure. So these moments are the best opportunity to observe who other people really are. Another tip to become more rational is to simply accept going through the pain. We can grow as a personality by increasing our pain tolerance. It's okay to be wrong sometimes and to feel hurt or to feel guilty. Embrace your feelings, both the pleasurable and the uncomfortable ones, and they will have less power over you. Law 2. The law of narcissism. Deep down, we all crave for attention. When we don't get it, we turn inwards and start admiring ourselves and perceiving our own qualities as being important. This is one of the main reasons why we often prioritize our own wants and needs over the wants and needs of others. There exists a narcissistic spectrum where on the lower side we have healthy self-esteem, while on the other extreme lies pathologically exploitative behavior. Do you know any toxic narcissists who don't listen, take things personally, and tend to be manipulative? Do you want to be like them? To avoid this, we have to analyze ourselves and understand that we are all narcissistic to some degree. This means each of us exists on a spectrum ranging from healthy levels of narcissism to deep narcissism. Deep narcissists are usually people with a faulty sense of self, where they see other people as an extension of themselves. This often can be traced back to childhood and the years between 2 and 5 years old, the age when a person stops seeing themselves as an extension of their mother and develops a sense of individual personhood. Either the parent was too involved, preventing the establishment of an individual identity, or the parent didn't give the child any attention, creating a sense of abandonment. This results in low self-esteem and feelings of insecurity, so that deep narcissists try to cope with their broken sense of self through negative behavior patterns that include jealousy, attention-seeking, over-controlling, taking everything personally, and being unable to handle criticism. What's very interesting about narcissism is the fact that it is often associated with self-love. However, this is actually what many deep narcissists lack: a proper sense of self to love. Here's one of the best ways to gain a healthier level of narcissism. Create a sense of self that you can love, which will reduce insecurity and raise self-esteem. On top of that, keep your self-absorption in check by being empathetic. Empathy is another thing that deep narcissists lack, and this is one of the best skills you can have in life. Empathy is the ability to sense what others are going through, thereby connecting us to the people in our lives. When we are genuinely interested in others and engage in meaningful conversations, we restore balance. On top of that, empathy can also give you the insight you need to turn yourself into a person of superior character and for recognizing the true character of others. Law 3. The law of role-playing. We are all wearing masks. To the outside world, we are pumping out our positive attributes, attempting to be liked and admired. In reality, though, we may feel challenges with self-esteem and identity, resulting in us falling in certain behaviors. We can use this law to our advantage in 2 ways. First, we can tweak our mask to create favorable impressions to others. By making a conscious effort to be open to change and modify our behavior, we can thoroughly understand which aspects we should emphasize. Second, we can reverse engineer the masks others put on to unearth their true nature. Some aggressive or arrogant people may try to hide these socially unacceptable traits by putting on their cool mask. By learning to be observant of their posture, tonality, facial expressions, and other cues, we can tell when they are being sarcastic, when they are bluffing, or when they are being inauthentic. In short, we learn to read people. But always remember, sometimes it's necessary to wear your mask so that you can function socially. Wearing your mask doesn't mean you're being unethical. Sometimes it's just wiser to do what's being expected of you. Law 4. The law of compulsive behavior. According to the law of compulsive behavior, we cannot change our character, we can only shape it. To make this law work for us, we must first understand our compulsions. If, for instance, we are bad at taking criticism, then we are likely to be challenged by stressful situations or small inconveniences. To tame our nature and take our people skills to the next level, we should be spending time with people of stronger character and recognize our compulsive behavior as it arises. Through repeated practice and patiently managing our emotions, we can develop better coping methods. When we catch ourselves relapsing into the negative behaviors, we need to acknowledge it and refocus. The law of compulsive behavior can also help us when choosing a partner. To avoid wasting years of your life with an incompatible person and a toxic relationship, choose to relate to people who are strong, flexible, empathetic, and persistent. Character should be more important than charm and attraction when it comes to relationships. Law 5. The law of covetousness. We have to understand as soon as we fall victim to the shiny object syndrome, where we tend to chase after what we don't have. It might be following trends or modeling what others desire without introspectively analyzing if it's in our best interest. Breaking this habit boils down to self-awareness. On top of that, knowing when we should withdraw our attention or not reveal something understandably helps us appear desirable. This law revitalizes the idea of playing hard to get. Using mystery is a great technique to do just that. By gradually disclosing pieces of details to others instead of pouring our whole backstory, we can project an aura of intrigue and consequentially preserve our attraction. Thereby, we can become an elusive object of desire. Of course, honesty and authenticity are positive traits, but when exaggerated, you can become boring and predictable, and other people's attention will soon move forward to someone else. So instead of focusing on the things you covet, focus on other people's fantasies and unfulfilled desires. If you can become what they desire, the rest will come by itself. You just have to look at yourself from the outside. How do people see you and your work? Once you know, shape their perceptions and convey the exact image you want. Sometimes it also helps to associate your image or your work image with something forbidden or secret, because it will spike their curiosity and make you more appealing. So don't be always available and create the impression that everyone wants to have your work. Imagine some children fighting for a toy they are just interested in because the other child wants to play with it too. Similarly, people will want to work with you if they believe that other people want the same. Law 6. The law of short-sightedness. As humans, we are reluctant to plan beyond the immediate demands of the present. This law is what can prevent us from being successful in our diets and developing good long-term habits. If we could always focus on the long run, it would be easy for us to never eat candies, for example, because we would always remember that it's bad for our health. But people usually react to present circumstances and forget that the most things are temporary and that they have consequences. That's why it is so vital to see the bigger picture. Example: nowadays information and entertainment is everywhere and always available, especially on social media platforms. So the next time when you're scrolling through your Instagram feed or watching YouTube videos, train your mind to filter out the essential things based on your priorities and goals. Some videos may just waste your valuable time, but videos like this will help you to gain more knowledge and become better. So if you want to become better in all areas of life, please subscribe to my channel and join my journey. Law 7. The law of defensiveness. Let's begin with a quick question. Why do we get defensive when others criticize us? Is it because we mainly identify with our successes more than with our shortcomings and we feel inadequate when they are pointed out? Maybe. According to the law of defensiveness, we desire autonomy. We want to feel like the things we are doing or saying originate from our own will. This is also why we get defensive when people try to persuade us. We often view the advice of others as condemnation for our perceived lack of intelligence or kind of skill, rather than a pathway to improvement. That's why we deny being influenced by others and rebel if we feel someone is trying to change or persuade us. We can use the law of defensiveness as a guideline to convincing others to be more open to our ideas by making them feel as if it was their idea in the first place. So before you try to persuade others, let them feel like they are persuading you instead. Thereby, they will feel superior, which is precisely what you want, because then they will be more open to your ideas. Law 8. The law of self-sabotage. Sometimes we are having negative beliefs that do not serve us, such as associating failures we may have experienced in the past with future possibilities and becoming a fixed mindset instead of a growth one. The loop of self-sabotage is broken by changing our attitude. Here are some tips you could use to change your attitude. Tip 1. Replace conviction with curiosity and see yourself as a fearless and open-minded explorer. Tip 2. You shouldn't try to avoid frustration and obstacles at any cost. You just cannot avoid adversities, but you can control your responses to them and see negative events as opportunities to learn and become stronger. Tip 3. You should not adopt the indifferent and skeptical attitude that's so in fashion nowadays. These people see positive persons as naive, but their negativity is actually a mask to disguise their fears. Tip 4. Do not limit yourself. Your body and mind can do much more than you think. Often we get sick before a difficult test or an important presentation. This happens because negative feelings such as exhaustion or anxiety make us weaker. On the opposite, our health improves when we are more positive. Tip 5. Don't take things personally. Most times, people's reactions towards you say nothing about you. It's mostly all about themselves. You can use the concept of a shadow personality to change your attitude. The shadow personality is that part of us with all the behaviors we want to repress. We can start by being honest about it and not bottling it up, releasing our suppressed ones into the light. There are even ways of making our shadow self work for us, and we will go over those in the next law. Law 9, the law of repression. Behind the smiles we see on everyone's face lies a hidden world, rarely acknowledged. People repress parts of themselves. They hide the selfish, aggressive, insecure thoughts they have. They do so out of insecurity and fear of being judged. That's the shadow self. It's the side of us we hide even from ourselves because we don't want to admit having them. By noticing the traits we are trying to hide and working on them, we can make our shadow self work for us. If you're insecure, then making intentional steps to building self-confidence instead of shrinking away from the limelight allows us to fully express ourselves without fear of being judged. The more we deny our shadow self, the stronger it becomes. And as our shadow self contains our worst insecurities and our most terrible secrets and desires, they become stronger too. Sometimes when we feel too stressed, vulnerable, or anxious, small parts of this side leak out. That's when we have emotional outbursts. Of course, most of us try to hide their shadow selves, but this is not the right thing to do. Instead, embrace your shadow self and allow yourself to be more assertive, indifferent, weird, or selfish. Thereby, you have more chances to become successful and the person you want to be. You will even notice that a lot of successful people are eccentric or unconventional, and guess why? Because they don't hide their shadow selves. Law 10. The Law of Envy. A moderate dose of envy is a great motivator to strive for success and take actions to fulfill your ambitions. But when overindulged in and converted to bitterness, it clouds your judgment. We may develop an inferiority complex where we constantly feel inadequate. So whenever you feel envious of someone, remind yourself that what you see is only a part of reality and that other people's lives are as complex as yours with ups and downs too. On top of that, if you practice feeling joyful for others, you can turn envy into a source of inspiration and admiration. The other part of applying the law of envy is identifying the snarky remarks that may be made by those who are envious of you. When someone is uneasy around your exhibition of thriving success, this law appeals to us to respond wisely. Because people who envy you can make you feel uncomfortable and mocked. Even if most people won't act out their envy, there could be some who want to sabotage you or who spread rumors about you. Signs of envy are obvious, and if you want to test someone, tell them good news about yourself and observe their reactions, especially their eyes, because people's eyes are going to show hostility even if they are saying wonderful things. You can also do the opposite and tell them bad news about yourself. You just need to watch if you can detect micro expressions of happiness on their face. If this is the case, stay as far as possible from those envious people, because nothing good can come from them. And if you have no choice, try to deflect their envy. You can do so by never showing off and only opening up as little as possible about your life. Additionally, always try to draw attention away from yourself and surround yourself with people who are happy for your achievements and who bring positiveness into your life. Law 11. The Law of Grandiosity. Some people prefer to pump up their achievements while taking full credit for team efforts or distorting history to over-exaggerate their performance. These people can be called grandiose. It is important to recognize grandiosity for what it is, a reflection of an uncontrolled need for approval and attention. This trait can make people toxic in interpersonal relationships where they demand credit without reciprocating the effort, or even worse, begin taking other people's work and claiming it as their own. We should always try to identify this behavior in others, but also in ourselves, because we all want to consider ourselves important and have a positive opinion about ourselves. This is not a bad thing, quite the opposite. Grandiose dreams move us and give us willpower and motivation. The problem is when our grandiosity feelings get out of control and lead us to a distorted version of reality. When we start to believe we are much greater than we are or everyone else thinks we are. To avoid losing touch with reality, we need to channel that grandiose energy to our work goals and decisions, not to our egos. Here are a few tips to do just that. Tip 1. Be honest with yourself. We all have ambitions and want to feel important, but we always have to ask ourselves if what we want really is achievable. Tip 2. Go for projects that are a little above your current skill level. Not below, because they will be too easy. Not at the same level, because they won't make you grow. And not above, because they'll be a fantasy and you will give up on them as soon as you realize. Tip 3. Your desires won't be just perfect, so ask others for their feedback about them and consider their opinions. Tip 4. Don't hop from project to project, unable to decide which fantastic idea is the best. Focus on one reasonable goal only and take one step at a time. Tip 5. Challenge yourself from time to time by setting greater goals. But always remember, do not fall prey to grandiosity. Law 12. The law of gender rigidity. Traditionally, traits such as ambition, determination, and strength have been viewed in a positive light and assigned with masculinity, while traits such as openness, empathy, and cooperative behavior have been viewed as feminine and considered less important. This is why the law of gender rigidity is so important. It denounces the idea of having a fixed definition of what it takes to be male or female, and instead encourages us to embrace both masculine and feminine behaviors in order to find balance. The law motivates us to create a role that fits to who we really are and want to be, regardless of gender features. So take a look inside of you, become aware of the masculine or feminine traits you have lost along the way and gradually reconnect with them. Thereby, you will become more creative, independent, and authentic. Law 13, the law of aimlessness. Law 13 encourages us to stick to our true purpose, the one that motivates us most. Deep down, we know where we want to be in, let's say, 10 years and the things we should do to get there. But somehow along the road, we might be swayed by demotivation and opinions of others, essentially succumbing to aimlessness. To counter aimlessness, you have to be clear about your purpose. There are countless stories of people who are rich or famous or successful, but at the same time not happy. This happens because things like money and fame have no meaning if they are not connected to a higher purpose. These are just things and we can never get enough of them. Without having a deeper meaning, our goals won't bring us fulfillment. Instead, they will easily be replaced by new, meaningless goals as soon as we achieve them. Many people feel lost and think they have got what they wanted, but in fact, they are asking themselves why they are not happy and what they have been doing with their life, in their job, or in the city. So here are some simple tips to find your purpose. Tip 1. Discover what you love. Think back to what you enjoyed as a kid. What activities felt natural and fun? Is there anything you love to do so much that you would even do it for free. Finding something you're passionate about is key. Tip 2. Embrace challenges. Instead of running away from criticism or setbacks, see them as chances to learn and grow. Use negative feedback of others to fuel your determination and motivate yourself. Tip 3. Hang out with positive people. Surround yourself with folks who are passionate and purposeful. Their energy will inspire you to pursue your dreams. Tip 4. Set small and achievable goals. Big goals can sometimes be overwhelming. Break them down into smaller, achievable steps, and along your way, celebrate each success. This will lead you to greater goals that you can achieve in relatively short periods. From time to time, this will remind you of your sense of purpose and lets you feel satisfaction. Law 14. The law of conformity. We as human beings need to be accepted and appreciated within social groups, and conformity offers that acceptance. It provides us with a sense of comfort and belonging, and it gives us the assurance that we are contributing to the goals of the wider society. But it's important to note that in some contexts, conformity isn't always the right course of action. We may lose our authenticity by trying to generate the acceptance of our peers. By following our own path instead, we can earn a lot more respect. Law 15. The law of fickleness. Paradoxically, people want to be led while feeling that they are free to make their own decisions. We worship those that demonstrate authority while still wanting them to pay attention to our individual preferences. So leadership is a tricky balance. People want guidance, but also the freedom to decide. And being a leader means facing the risk of losing support if you slip up. Here are some tips to lead better and gain authority. Tip 1. Be authentic. Let your leadership naturally reflect who you are. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to leading. Embrace your uniqueness. Tip 2. Listen and serve. Be a good listener and focus on helping others rather than just yourself. Leadership is about serving the team, not bossing them around. Tip 3. Lead by example. Work as hard or even harder than your team. Your actions will inspire them to follow you. Tip 4. Have a vision. In tough times, be the one who sees beyond fear and stress, guiding others back on track. Tip 5. Give more than you take. Avoid taking too much credit or control. Overdoing it can create insecurity among your team. Share credit and support their growth. Tip 6. Stay adaptable. As you gain respect, your authority grows. But with time, people might see you as old-fashioned, so don't become stuck in old ways. Adapt your leadership style to the new times. Law 16. The law of aggression. We have notoriously visible instinct for harm and vengeance, although we usually repress these desires behind masks of civility. Our perceived notions of fairness usually prompt anger when not met in dire times. When logic fails, we might resort to violence. Taming our own aggression will always be a challenge. It requires us to come up with creative solutions instead of blindly following passing emotions. That's because aggression has always been a tool for survival, helping us defend ourselves and fight for what we need. Even though we no longer need to hunt or fight animals, our aggressive impulses still affect us. When we feel insecure or threatened, we can become aggressive, leading to actions we regret later. So here are 3 tips to deal with aggression. Tip 1. Recognize your patterns. Understand where your aggression comes from so you can change it. Tip 2. Don't bottle it up. Aggression is like pressure. If you don't release it in a healthy way, say by doing sports, it can harm you. Tip 3. Direct aggression positively. Channel your aggression into solving problems, but avoid taking it out on others, regardless of whether you think they deserve it. Law 17. The law of generational myopia. The 17th law of human nature explains why boomers and millennials often clash over their differing perspectives and values. The theory suggests that each generation wants to differentiate themselves from the previous one to reassure their own identity, resulting in a sense of generational myopia, only being able to see one's own experiences. Here are 3 strategies to navigate this generational dynamic. Strategy 1. Challenge your past. Don't feel bound by the values you were raised with. Embrace taboo topics and express your generation's unique perspective. Strategy 2. Revive childhood spirit. Connect with the innocence and curiosity of childhood. This resonates with your peers and draws them to your cause. Strategy 3. Stay flexible. Surround yourself with people from different generations to broaden your perspective and enhance adaptability. Law 18. The law of death denial. The final law of human nature is one that should motivate us to make the most of our lives in the present. The law of death denial refers to how grotesque death is, and many of us stiffen up at the mere mention of death. This fear is understandable. We even code it with more acceptable labels, as if a spiritual phrase like passing away will make it any more bearable. The law of death denial tells us to channel the volatility of our mortality into a sense of urgency in life. Have you ever had months to work on a project, but you procrastinated until the last minute? It's like how we treat death. We know it's coming, but we avoid thinking about it. But the truth is, by ignoring our mortality, we waste precious time. Life is short. Remembering death can help us prioritize what matters. Treat your remaining years as a deadline, motivating you to pursue what's meaningful and make the most out of every day of your life. If this video was helpful, please give me a like, comment below, and be sure to subscribe.